came a turning. There was a moment when all was known. You could feel beauty rising on the breeze, the shapes, the stone, and I would ride upon the breeze that shaped.
Hi, my name is Sue Skaskew with Vermont Volunteer Services for Animals Humane Society, and welcome to our show, For the Animals. Today we have a very happy story that we thought we'd share with you in hopes that if you know people that need help, they know where to call, because we will help people all over the state. So, this is Teresa Hutt from Killington. Thank you for coming over today.
Thank you, Sue, for everything.
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago or a month ago.
About a month ago.
I got a call that your cat had gone missing. Can you tell the story?
Sure. We got up pretty early that morning, and the 6-year-old in the house accidentally, as 6-year-olds do sometimes, didn't shut the door all the way, and unfortunately the cat got out. Actually, both of my cats got out. There were 2 sisters, and luckily the one cat didn't stray very far and she came right back in. But the other one that has a little bit of an adventure spirit, and she took herself on a little walk. It was snowing that morning, so we could see her paw prints, and we could see that she was starting to travel. So we did our best to try and follow them, but we really couldn't locate her.
Had she been outside before?
Once, and she didn't get past, again, somebody didn't shut the door all the way,
Right.
And she got to the deck and was so scared she was frozen and screamed to come back in. So,
so dramatic.
So yeah, they are not outside cats, and I don't have any intention of having them to be outside cats, especially since in my neighborhood there's a lot of wildlife and it's really just not safe for them to be outside. So when I realized that she had kind of left the front of the area, I was super panicked, and started reaching out to friends and anybody that could keep an eye out for her in the neighborhood.
What time of the day was that?
Well, by the time I started to get the word out, it was probably about 8 o'clock. So we searched for a couple hours on our own with, normally the treats, do it, because she's a little food face. So normally the treats, we'll get her, but she had already strayed a little bit too far. So we searched for about 2 hours, and then I started making some, phone calls and posting online just to get out some awareness, especially since, the neighbors started to realize that people were traipsing through the backyard.
So up at Killington, do you have a forum?
Yes.
A neighborhood forum?
Yes,
okay.
There's a neighborhood forum that I posted to, and got a lot of responses, got a lot of great tips, but probably the biggest and most helpful tip was call Sue.
And that was through a mutual friend?
That was through a mutual friend, yeah.
How did you know to call Corrine?
I didn't. She saw my post on the locals.
No kidding.
Yeah, she saw my Corrine is still on the locals page in Killington, so she saw that my cat was missing.
Yeah.
And she contacted me right away and said, this is what my friend Sue does. If you want to give her a call, she's really good at finding the animals and getting them back home again. So
Her mom, Dagny, volunteers here.
Oh.
We couldn't do this without Dagny. She's a godsend. And
Great.
Corrine, very talented.
yes,
Funny?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so was it you that I spoke with, or Brenda, your friend?
The first time it was me.
Okay.
So I spoke to you and I arranged, but then I was searching and coordinating a lot of stuff. So, my friend Brenda said, why don't I go pick up the stuff for you while you continue to search in the woods?
Okay.
Because we were trying, our thought process was that while it was still snowing and the tracks were fresh, to try and stay on them as much as possible and not lose them.
And I remember talking with either you or Brenda that at one point the tracks had gone on the road.
Yes.
And the problem with the road, you don't know if they're going up or down, but if it's snowing and they're seeking shelter, they could go into the culvert. And if you have a snowplow that comes by, they're going to close off their escape route.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, we have found animals dead in the spring once the snow melts, and what a scary way to go. But so if you ever lose an animal, check out culverts.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
So, and one of your tips to me was they are going to, she's probably, especially after so many hours, she's probably going to seek some shelter.
Right.
So, make sure you check all of, the decks and wood piles, underneath them to, to see where they are.
Yep.
So we did that, and that's exactly where we found her.
How far away had she gone?
The tracks led us quite a way. But then when we found her, she was underneath my neighbor's deck, which was very close. But during that time, I think she wandered quite a bit because I was just about to lose hope, and I went out to take the trash out. And while I was out there, I know that I saw her come back through the woods to that, towards the house. And that's what really kind of sparked the search again, was that, we saw her, we spotted her, I know I saw her.
Yeah.
So, we should look around. And then, sure enough, she was underneath the neighbor's porch, hanging out of reach, couldn't reach her, but we knew at least that she was close by, trying to get home, but was super scared.
And they get so freaked out. They don't recognize the person. I mean, they do, but they're just so panicked they may not even move sometimes.
Yeah, she did not want to move, and this cat definitely knows me and is super comfortable with me, but would not come out. So we had a bit of a staring contest for a while. She was underneath the deck, and I couldn't get underneath to get her. She wasn't moving, she wasn't coming out, but at least I knew that she was trying to make her way back home and that she was close by, and that it was a matter of waiting until she was comfortable to come out and get home.
So a couple of the things that we suggested, we have live traps that we lend for free. In fact, we have a dog trap too. Anybody's welcome to borrow it. It works all the time. If the animal's in the area, it does work. Sometimes what we found with traps though, if the animal is too spooked, if you tie it open and you put the food outside and move it a couple inches inside and a couple more inches inside, and then when you're ready to trap, move it beyond the trip plate. And that works really well too in case you have a mama cat outside that you need to, a female cat that you don't want to be a mama cat, but you want to catch her before she gets pregnant. Borrow the trap, set it up, start feeding her, and then when you have a vet appointment, trap her, bring her right in the trap to the veterinarians. They stand it upright so she's down at the bottom. You keep it covered in a sheet so they're not flipping out, and the vet can slowly reach underneath, put the first injection right into her. She goes to sleep after about 5 minutes, and then pull her out, and then he re-injects her for the surgery. So it really works. So if you have feral cats somewhere, please don't wait until February or March, because I have never heard of this so soon, but 2 years ago we had a litter of kittens born in February. I know once the light changes, which it just did, everything starts to go in the live mode again. So if you have animals and you need help, the other hat we wear is we are the administrator of the Vermont Spay Neuter Incentive Program. So if you're financially strapped, you can have your cat or dog spayed or neutered for $27. That also includes a vaccination, a rabies, and distemper. The balance is paid by a fund, a designated fund. When you register your dogs, you pay $4 extra. I beg people to please register your dogs. Not only is it important for their health, but if your dog is bitten by a rabid animal and it bites somebody else, or even if it doesn't bite somebody else, if it starts showing signs, the only way to test for rabies is to euthanize and send a head off up to the state. So it's really, really important. And if your dog bites somebody or another animal, they can demand that your dog be euthanized and tested. So every spring there are rabies clinics. We do one in Bridgewater. At the very least, have a rabies shot and register your dog. But at the best, make sure they're spayed and neutered, because as they get older, the male's going to get testicle cancer, most likely, and the female mammary. Get them neutered. It'll make your life a lot easier. Sorry to interrupt. I had to give a plug. So, but we lend out traps, and also, how would you describe that sign? I always have a hard time describing it to somebody.
Yeah, it was a nice big kind of like road sign that you would leave out, to let people know that there was a missing cat in the area. And you also gave me a whole bunch of flyers to distribute, which was fantastic. And, it was super helpful because in the time, like I was panic stricken and I was, so busy looking that having somebody just kind of, put together all that material for me and say, here, I didn't have the right mind to put all of that together myself. I was so worried and I was out there looking. So you did so much work for me to supply me with, tools to find the cat and to get the word out and the trap. And I used them all. I had a bunch of people volunteer based on that to, come help me look. And, one of them was the one that found her underneath the deck. So
tell that story, how you finally got her. I love this.
So, after staring at her for a while and knowing that, it's starting to get dark and I'm definitely trying really hard to get her in before it gets, before nighttime gets here. It was a really cold night, so it was supposed to dip below 0 that night. And I didn't want her out all night. And also worried about just her being, prey.
Right.
But it became clear that she was not going to come out with, all of the, chaos of people around in the neighborhood. But I suspected that once everybody went to sleep, that she might come out and that, it did appear as if she was trying to come home. So we went to bed that night with the front door wide open.
This is the winter too, by the way.
Yeah, so it was a super cold night, and I have her sister as well. I adopted 2 of them at the same time, so locked ourselves in the bedroom with the other cat so that the other cat didn't escape, but left the front door open, put food inside the house. Her litter was on the porch, and sure enough, in the middle of the night, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, when she felt comfortable that nobody was around and nobody was trying to get her, she came out from underneath the deck, made her way back home. She stopped to use the litter on the porch before she came in the house. She came in, she had a little snack, and then came to the bedroom door. And I was alerted by her sister, the other cat that was with me in the bedroom, instantly popped up at 2 o'clock in the morning and ran to the front of the bedroom door, which told me immediately that little Foxy, her sister, was on the other side. And sure enough, I opened the door and there the cat was.
I love it.
Yeah, so it was a really happy ending. I was really scared there for a while that I really thought I was not going to see her again, which would have been pretty heartbreaking. But luckily, I'm glad to say that I was able to get her back, and definitely as a result of all of the help that you gave me, which I really appreciate.
You're very welcome. Group effort. We have the nicest friends and volunteers, and anybody that wants to get involved, I don't care what part of the state you're in. There are animal people all around, humane societies. Get involved. It takes. We keep saying, truly together we make a difference, and it's true. But thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you, Brenda, for coming over here and grabbing the stuff. That was awfully nice of her, too.
Yeah.
You've got good friends?
Yes, thanks, Sue.
Okay. Thank you very much for watching For the Animals.
At dusk, there came a turning. There was a moment when all was known. You could feel.
Okay, Banks, Mr. Banks, you're going to be tested again, retested for ringworm. Okay, so Maria, let's talk about why he was brought in the first place.
Okay. There was a nice woman who had been taking care of him, feeding him. She'd let him into her home. He'd cuddle up on the couch with her kids and with the dogs and so forth, but he was a stray.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have a home, but he was lucky enough to have somebody who was willing to feed him. But she had 3 other cats and she had a dog, and she was moving, and she knew that she just couldn't take another animal in. So she, regretfully had to see if we could find another place for him to go. And one of the young ladies who works at the clinic where I work, she's one of our kennel staff, she had told me about him and asked if I could help.
And this is Eastwood Animal Clinic?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so I said, well, I will do the best that I can. I said, at the moment, I don't have a place to foster him, but I will do my best to find somewhere. If you want to just grab him and bring him in, we'll get him neutered, we'll get him vaccinated, we'll get him checked over. So we brought him in. We had him tested for leukemia and AIDS, which he was negative. Negative for feline leukemia, feline AIDS, and feline heartworm, negative for all 3. And but I noticed when he first came in that he had a lot of patchy hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
Now, patchy hair loss in a cat, it can be, there are 3 different things that come to mind right now. The first thought is going to be a flea dermatitis. He had fleas. Your first hope is that it's something as simple as a flea dermatitis. Because in that case, you treat the fleas, you might have to give them an injection of a steroid to kind of calm the itching down. But that, if you get rid of the flea dermatitis goes away. Some cats you won't notice have itching problems at all, and you'd never even know they had fleas, and others have an allergy. So when you see cats that are scabby, with hair loss, primarily with the scabs being here at the base of the tail.
Is that because they can't reach that?
That's where the fleas tend to go. They tend to gather at the base of the tail. I mean, obviously they cover the whole body, but this for some reason is their favorite area. And it probably is partly because it's harder for the cats to reach that area, but they'll get a lot of hair loss in that area and get very itchy. He did have patches missing in the areas that you would think with a flea dermatitis. But also the way the hair loss was on the inside of his legs, also the outside of his legs and on his belly, made me a little more concerned about something else. We treated him for fleas, kind of hoped that that was it, but the thinning of the hair on the belly and the legs made us suspect ringworm. Now ringworm it's what they call a zoonotic disease, meaning it is contagious to people, it's contagious to other animals.
When I've talked to people about ringworm, they said, oh, what does the worm look like?
Yes.
So,
everyone thinks it's a worm. It's not actually a worm. It's a fungus. It's a fungus. And it's fairly common in cats, I'm afraid to say. I mean, not so common that every cat that you see has it, but it is common with outdoor cats. They can get it from the ground. It lives in the ground. But it is contagious through other animals and people and so forth. And it's highly contagious. So like keeping him in a bathroom, for example, where he's being kept in here because it is easy to disinfect. Ringworm can live on the environment for quite a while, but he's being kept in here because it's easy to disinfect it. You disinfect it every day, make sure that there isn't anything living on the environment. Ideally, you want to wear gloves when handling him so that you don't get it.
I have to tell you that years ago when we did a seizure on some animals at a place in Heartland, I ended up with ringworm on my nose, the tip of my nose, a perfectly round red circle for a month.
Yeah.
So people do get it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I do know in one shelter that they had ringworm and all the cats were euthanized.
They do.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, when it comes to shelters, it's a death sentence, unfortunately, ringworm. And it's very sad. I understand why they do it, because it spreads like wildfire. You get one cat in with ringworm, and they're all going to get it, and they can't abduct them out. So I understand why they do it, but I hate to have them do it. We're trying to avoid that. So when I saw him, I saw the possibility of ringworm. The first thing you think of when you see a cat with that patchy hair loss, the first thing you need to think of is ringworm. So as a precaution, we took a culture, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute here, to test for him. Unfortunately, the test takes 10 days before you can find out. You can put them under an ultraviolet light, and often that can show it right away. Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. But then I called Sue here, knowing that she may be willing to help me, because trying to find a foster home for a ringworm cat is next to impossible. So if anybody has any interest in fostering, we need fosters, not only for ringworm cats, but all cats in general. I work with an organization called the Feline Connection. It is a rescue that I founded this past June of 2018. And we are just a group of volunteers. We all have full-time jobs, but we are quickly growing, and we need more help to help us to achieve our goals. And the goals are to save as many cats as we possibly can.
And you have done an awesome job
Thank
just
you.
in the few months that you and your friends have done this. You're a nonprofit,
Yes,
and you can be found online.
yes. We're working on a website now. We can be found on Facebook only at the moment, but we're currently in the process of starting a website. And that webpage we're hoping to have up and going within the next couple of weeks.
So contributions are what you rely on,
Yes.
and your own
Yes.
fundraising efforts.
Yes,
Yeah.
100% donations are how we take care of these animals. Like banks, for example, ringworm is expensive and to treat, because we're not talking you give them a little bit of cream, wipe the cream on, and they're better. Banks has been getting treatments since, Sue, do you remember what month you took him in?
I think
It
he's
was
been here about
beginning
2
of
months now.
November, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that he came in the beginning of November. It is now the middle of January. And he's been getting treated a couple of different ways. He's been given an oral antibiotic, sorry, it's not an antibiotic, it's an antifungal medication. And there are a couple different types, but as a rule, they work pretty well, but they are very strong. There are side effects that go along with them, and luckily Mr. Banks, he was quite tolerant of it up until about 2 weeks ago, and he did start vomiting, losing his appetite, which unfortunately is typical of these fungal medications because they're very strong. It takes a lot to kick ringworm. So along with the oral medication, he was getting antifungal baths, and I believe you were doing a little bit of topical as well. Is that correct? Or did
I
you just do
do.
the
Topical
baths?
is difficult because he wanted
They
to
lick
lick it off.
They lick it
But
off.
he was so good with the bath. We took him in the kitchen sink.
Mhm.
Linda, who used to work for a veterinarian for many, many years, helped me. And where I was all set to put him in the sink filled with
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
she said, no, how about if we make up the solution first and put it on him dry? And
Yeah,
it
good
worked
idea.
perfectly. And
Good
it worked well. We wore our gloves
Mhm.
and rinsed him off. We already had, rather than turn the faucet on, which can really freak cats
Oh,
out,
yeah, yeah.
we had warm water in 3 different containers all set to go. And he tolerated it very well. And his
Wonderful.
coat,
He's such a good boy.
he is, and his coat felt so silky after that.
I haven't seen Banks since he arrived here last November. When I saw Banks, he only had half a hair coat. He looks beautiful. It's grown back in nicely. We have done a second fungal culture. Obviously the first one, I don't think I said that, but judging from the fact that we're telling you that we did all this with him, he did come out positive with that first treatment, so I'm very glad that we took that culture. We did a second culture about a week ago, and thank goodness it was negative. But the goal is to get 2 negative cultures in a row. Sometimes, unfortunately, it is possible that you get a negative culture and then you get a positive one again. So we are going to keep our fingers crossed that this one will be negative. We're going to take it today, check it again in 10 days.
Could you show how you take it?
Absolutely. I brought with me some hemostats. Okay, so I have hemostats, and this is a culture medium. And you can see on the medium that is orange. Banks seems a little interested in it as well. Yeah, you're a good boy. If there's a positive ringworm, this medium will turn red. So that will show that it is positive. It may grow a little bit of mold or something on the medium. That doesn't mean anything. What we're looking for when we get the culture is this color change of the medium. It'll turn red, anywhere from like an orangey red color to a dark, dark red. So you just take the meat, take the cover off, and I'm going to take some spots. Like he still has some thinning hair on the back of his legs, which that is, we're hoping is allergies. That is the third hair loss tip that we did not discuss yet is flea allergy, dermatitis, ringworm, and the other one is allergies. Allergies are very common in cats as well. They can be environmental allergies, they can be food allergies, but they all look about the same, and nicely, he is turning over very nicely for me for the areas that I need to get the hair. What you do is you just pluck a few pieces, which I didn't get a good hold there. You pluck out a few pieces in the areas of concern, and you tap it right into the medium. He's playing. So I'm going to take it from various places on him where I knew that we got positive cultures from him before. You don't need a lot. Sorry, buddy.
Just loves the attention, Maria.
He had some on his neck, I believe.
And I do want to point out that you are a vet tech
Yes,
at
I am.
Eastwood Animal Clinic. How
Yes, I
long
am.
have you been there?
I've been there for 16 and a half years.
Wow.
Let's see, any place else? Yeah, right there on your belly. Can I see your belly? Okay, very good. Mouth there. Get your skin.
Now, do you send it away to have the culture grow?
Nope. I'll take this back to the clinic on my way home, and we just put it in a warm, dark area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we'll do. Is then we'll just sit this up in the cabinet where we keep them for 10 days.
Okay.
And it can change anywhere between tomorrow and the 10 days. The first culture we did of him, he was good at 9 days. On the 10th day, it changed like that.
No
So
kidding.
it was very frustrating because I was so sure that he was going to be okay. And on
Wow.
the last day, it turned bright red. So.
And as far as his food now, I have him on salmon and peas. And it did say that it's for cats with allergies.
Yes.
And the fur is growing back.
So we're thinking he has a. Oh, I don't like that.
And it's not that
Combination
expensive.
of the two, you know, the
Yeah.
allergies and the ringworm. He was very itchy in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But Sue, I believe, says he's not really itching anymore.
I don't-
The scabs are all gone. He still has some thinning hair. But sometimes with the there's another spot. Sometimes with the hair loss, with the allergies, they lick. They lick a lot on their legs and belly, and that's what causes the hair loss.
It was almost a frantic lick in the beginning. Now it just seems that he's grooming himself.
Yeah.
And he does love attention. Anytime
He's a
we come
really
in the
sweet
room,
boy.
he will jump on your lap and just cuddle right into you. And we are looking for a good home for him. He
Obviously, we will make sure that the ringworm is. He would not be adopted out until this culture was negative. Once we get that second culture, he will be up for adoption then. So, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. He does sleep in the cat room where we have a double-decker cage, and the other cats go up to him, so he's very comfortable with other cats. That was one little fear I had, that especially in the beginning.
Playing with me. He says, "You're gonna pull some more hair out of my belly. Don't do that." That didn't hurt, by the way. He was just playing.
He is a great cat, as you saw with that laser light, and he likes to sit and look out the window.
He loves attention.
Was he outside when he was first found?
He was. He
Okay.
was. He lived outdoors. He was allowed to come into the woman's home once in a while, but not full time. Not full time. She had a bed set up for him out on her porch, and she fed him out there. You can contact me at 2 different ways. You can reach me by phone at 802-353-8860, or you can email me. 3 different ways, actually. You can email me at thefelineconnection.vt@gmail.com, or you can go onto our Facebook page, which is The Feline Connection. Our username is The Feline Connection VT, because there are 2 feline connections out there. One is in Montana. That obviously isn't us. We're here in Vermont. So you can also private message me on our Facebook page.